Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Talking About Birds, the only Cardinal podcast that, like Ohtani's contract, is confusing and annoying to everybody. My name is Nate Heininger, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Ben Samorka.
Hey, Nate.
If you have an idea for the opening bit, tweet us at Talk About Birds. Hambone, how you doing? We're deep in December at this point. How you feeling?
Yeah, feeling good, I think, for the most part. It snowed today.
Wow.
The birds are no longer chirping. I got a timer for my Christmas tree. It's really all just looking like winter, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
I was thinking the other day, I've been watching, you and I talk a lot about movies, and we were actually talking about movies right before we started recording.
Films. I like to call them films.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
The art of film.
Yes.
Go to a local theater. What's your favorite Christmas movie? Do you have a favorite Christmas movie?
What's my favorite Christmas movie? I don't know if I really have one that I'm like,
you hate Christmas too much.
Well, that's part of it. I think that I don't love Christmas. We did watch the Jim Carrey Grinch recently, and I will say I'm a sucker for Jim Carrey. He could I think read a phone book and I would be laughing out loud. So
men of a certain generation love Jim Carrey.
Yeah, and there's just like him eating the glass, and he says he's doing it because he's bored, and it's going straight to his hips. Like, that's just very funny to me. I'm a Will Ferrell fan too. Elf is good and fine.
I watched that. We watched that last Friday. So I hadn't seen it since it came out, and Molly had never seen it. So
oh wow,
we watched it with the kids.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's an hour and a half of Will Ferrell being a jackass. So it's like, that's great. I can watch that. There is something that, like, again, I hadn't seen it in 20 years. Have you seen it recently?
Decently, yeah.
Okay. So there's the whole rom-com B plot of the film with him and Zooey Deschanel,
which is so odd because he's
like it aged
playing a child.
Yeah. I feel like it aged very poorly. I think it's supposed to just be like magical Christmas realism, but yeah, he is coded as a child end to end. There's no moment where he acts anything other than childlike,
right?
And so when he went to kiss her, I was legitimately expecting her to be like, "Oh, buddy, like, oh, that's so sweet, but hey, like, and instead she's like, "You missed," and then he kisses her on the mouth. I'm like,
yeah,
this sucks.
Yeah, that's weird.
This is horrible.
Yeah. We also Mary's a bigger fan of Nightmare Before Christmas more than I am, but rewatching it, it's great.
Yeah,
the music's great, the art is great. It's super fun. Also, it's like 70 minutes, which I think more movies should be shorter. And I'm just kind of looking at my Plex server right now. The Night Before, I don't know if you've ever seen that. It's a Seth Rogen Christmas movie, so it's very they're just like doing drugs and getting drunk and but it's got the heartwarming moments. It's fine. But yeah, I don't really have. There's not like. Yeah, so I don't have to watch Gremlins every year or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I don't have that.
All right, so your answer is The Grinch is your favorite Christmas movie. Not surprising. You just like the first half of The Grinch, I assume. That's
the
your
first
favorite.
half is funny. Although when they make him the Luhu town mayor Christmas whatever, I can't remember what they designate him, and he's playing into that, and they're just shoving food in his mouth. It is very funny. I just like Jim Carrey, though, is really what it comes down to.
I think I saw that movie twice in theaters, and there's only a few movies that I can say that about. I'm not a big rewatcher of anything, but I liked that movie so much when it came out, I went and saw it twice.
Yeah.
So, but I honestly don't think I've seen it since then.
I would press you to rewatch it. I think it's got good bits.
Yeah. I'll throw out Home Alone, classic Christmas movie.
Yeah.
Santa Claus, great.
Tim Allen does not tickle my funny bone. But
well, he's such a cool guy. I like him for his politics first and foremost. After that, his comedy is great.
Yeah. I'll just move away
Noted
from that.
snitch. Tim.
Yeah, right. Didn't he get caught with like a kilo of cocaine driving up from Mexico or something like that?
Yeah, and the only reason he didn't spend the rest of his life in prison is because he narked on everyone else, and almost from my understanding, basically everyone that he like turned in is still in prison. It was such a big deal.
Damn.
Can you imagine being in prison because of Tim Allen and then watching hit like
his
Buzz
rise?
Lightyear? Yeah. Buzz Lightyear put me in prison.
No, that sounds terrible. Well, he'll get his. I'm telling you, it'll happen. He'll get his.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Any day now, the fall of Tim Allen. All right, let's move on. So, talking about Christmas movies, now, how are you feeling after spending the last week tracking jet patterns, refreshing, all of your social medias, looking what town is Shohei Ohtani in? What random member of the press is being blasted for misrepresenting something? How are you feeling now in this post Ohtani contract world?
Everybody was complaining about how secretive he was being and how he wasn't like. I think I saw Buster Olney say that he should, when he visits these teams, he should go, donate $50,000 to whatever the team's charity is, and he should make it a whole event and blah blah blah. But when with this vacuum of knowledge, and information, it really let everything just run completely wild. And I'll say, being a fan of a team who was like never a part of the conversation of Ohtani's coming to St. Louis, I thought it was pretty entertaining. I thought it was like the fact that we had a opera singer, a member of Shark Tank, the TV show, and an existing pitcher for the Blue Jays, all like wrapped up in these weird multi-level conspiracies, only to find out that Shohei Ohtani was sitting in his house, presumably with that dog that seems too good to be real. I think that dog is fake.
Too good of a boy.
It's too good of a boy. It was strange to me. How could the best baseball player also have the best dog? That was
bullshit.
Weird.
Maybe
from where I was sitting, I thought it was hilarious. I was very entertained by it.
Yeah, all the hand wringing kind of drove me crazy about the think pieces of this is bad for baseball. The fact that Shohei Ohtani isn't broadcasting his thought process 100% of the time. We didn't really want a LeBron James decision. Like, he got lit up for that, so it's like, I don't know, that I thought it was fine what Ohtani was doing, and just what everybody was doing to fill the void with all of these all this insane either hand wringing or conspiracy or whatever was pretty funny.
I think what do I mean to say? Baseball has some of the, I think, better journalists in sports. There's like a long tradition of it. There's I think the average baseball journalist is a pretty high quality writer journalist.
Until they get a Hall of Fame voting ballot, in which case all bets are off, and it becomes
that's that whole thing of like these guys who have written for baseball in the 1970s, and they've been like a golf writer, but they still think that they should. It's so stupid how that all works. But I think the majority, especially the big guys, the Rosenthals, I'll throw Gould in there. Buster Olney is decent most of the time. Tim Kirkjian is good.
Passan,
Passan is great. So many of them are so good. And then it's like this, like I said, there's this vacuum, and they all like not a lot of the ones that I just mentioned were stayed out of this, but it seemed the tier below was flipping out. And I don't know if it was because it's Ohtani and he's the biggest player in the world and everybody was just desperate for a scoop. If it was December and nothing's really happening, the winter meetings were disappointing. I don't know, but I don't really care. Like, also, journalists writing about journalism is not how you get the clicks from old Benny Samorka. So I'm not,
Yeah.
I don't care. But it was very funny. And like the fact that like, um, just the way that it got out of control to the point where so that opera singer was saying that Yusei Kikuchi had rented out an entire sushi restaurant or something like that, and then to find out that, well, first, like I said, Shohei Ohtani never left California that day.
Mm-hmm.
And then also to find out that Yusei Kikuchi, it was reported that he was making beef stew with his wife and child at home
Yeah.
in Toronto. It's just like,
We needed that.
it's funny that it got so out of hand that it was reported on what Yusei Kikuchi was actually doing that night. And of course he was just being a normal person and eating food with his family. But kind of
or that
amazing. That's how
the
big Ohtani is.
the executive from Shark Tank or whoever it was from I don't know that show, but like apparently a bunch of people like boarded his plane when it
Yes.
landed and they're like, where is he, where is he, where is he? And he's like,
Yes.
who?
And I
It's
like, yeah, I don't know. It's entertaining. It also is funny. Like, baseball has one superstar, right? That's like he is a star outside of baseball to a certain degree. He's obviously a massive star in the baseball world, obviously a massive star in his home country of Japan. Like, I don't know, maybe baseball and baseball journalists aren't ready for his level of stardom. Like,
yeah,
that's like it's almost too much. They can't handle it.
yeah, maybe. Well, we're going to talk about the contract and how it works and its
Hey,
implications. And
Nate, if he's only getting $2 million a year, why didn't the
hey,
Cardinals do that? Where are
what?
they at? Where are
What?
they at?
Come
Huh?
on, anyone could have done that. Well, we're going to talk about the contract and its implications and all that after the break. We do actually have some rather significant Cardinal news, although not a
Yeah.
lot of actual movement. But let's kick it off. We knew it was coming. We talked about it last week with C70. And I have a lot of emotions around this right now. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm fully prepared to talk as
You're
eloquently as I might normally.
you're
Um,
worried of how which baseball player is going to make you horny during the season
well,
because
number one with a bullet's gone now,
that's what I'm
so
saying.
yeah, we need Tyler O'Neill, Mr. Canada Jr., Bro Neal, the most swole man this side of the Mississippi, is heading east.
Yeah.
He was traded to the Boston Red Sox for two pitchers.
Yeah.
Um, again, we saw it coming, and as we said on last week's episode, I think that the Alex Verdugo trade was like a good indicator of what we would likely see as a return for Tyler O'Neill. Even though they're very different players, they have a similar sort of valuation, so to
Right.
speak.
They,
And
they get to their value in very different ways,
yeah,
but it like totals to the same. Yeah.
yeah, and ultimately that turned out to be pretty apt. And I think those two trades were very, very similar. Not just because they both involve the Boston Red Sox, but Tyler O'Neill is now a member of the Boston Red Sox, ending one of the more like discussed and just like bigger like storylines of the last like 5 years for the
Yeah.
St. Louis Cardinals. Originally traded for in the Marco Gonzalez trade, who's had his own offseason of note, which I think is interesting how these things line up. And ending ultimately, I think, in real disappointment as a Cardinal. I think we will always look back fondly at 2021 and how, unfortunately, this trade, like most trades, but this one even more so, will ultimately, we won't know how to judge this for another year or two. And I do want to talk about the return, but I just want to say, Tyler O'Neill has been arguably my favorite Cardinal, like that like came up. I mean, I know they acquired him, but like, he has spent his whole career at the major league level with the St. Louis Cardinals. And I've been a huge fan of him. And while the last 2 years have been rough, like he's been so much fun. We've not really had a dynamic player like him on the team um, before, and I don't really know. There's not really like a Tyler O'Neill waiting in the wings for the
No.
Cardinals. Most teams don't have a version of Tyler O'Neill sitting around, and it's disappointing. A lot of it, I think, is from Cardinal management. I think they've played a significant role in the disappointing end of O'Neill's time as a Cardinal, and some of it is his own. I mean, we wouldn't be talking about this if he had been able to play more games, and some of that's just bad luck, and some of it may be his own. He's too jacked. He's like his body shouldn't look like that, and I think that is part of what has led to some of his own problems. But
Yeah.
uh, I've been rambling here for a little while because again, I still haven't. I'm feeling I have a lot of thoughts and emotions, and I haven't really landed on specific talking points about Tyler O'Neill. Why don't you?
Yeah.
Can you share some of your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think well, to talk about the trade from a 30,000-foot view, what is really nice about this is that the Cardinals traded 1 year of control for many years of control
Yeah,
on lesser pitchers. So that in itself is good, I think, for the Cardinals and their pitching depth and the baseball team, the org, as they say,
sure.
at large. I do think that they're, when you look at Tyler O'Neill, let's pick on his last 3 years. I'll start in 2021, where he really popped off and had a great year. Since 2021, he has raised his walk rate by 3%. Since that same time period, he has lessened his strikeout rate by 6%. And we all know he has 80 grade power. He also has 70 grade running speed. He is a toolsy player. And I think that because of these tools and because of his batted ball profile, it hasn't always clicked as much as we would like to, but we've seen it click. And I think that there was a very good chance there's obviously an interpersonal issue in between Ali Marmol, Tyler O'Neill, and maybe Mozeliak. I don't know how much
Mhm.
he's involved in there. I know that there's been background reporting about Tyler O'Neill's dad and Ali Marmol really not getting along. To what degree we should take that into account, I have no idea.
Right.
But like you said, I really like Tyler O'Neill, and I think that there is a pretty good chance that he's going to put up 4+ WAR in
Yeah.
Boston. I'll remind everyone he is represented by Scott Boras. And I would not be surprised if he turns this into a very lucrative year for
Mhm.
himself. And then the following year, once he goes into free agency, and maybe he's a Boston Red Sox for the next half decade or so. So yeah, I think it's disappointing. I think that we talked about he's one of the few players on the Cardinals that have a like 4, 5, 6 WAR potential season in them. And
Mhm.
I think where the Cardinals are in their competitive window, if I was the czar of the organization, I would rather take that bet, and I would have rather have moved somebody else in the outfield. That still might happen. I think we'll talk
Right.
about that a little bit later. But that's kind of my overall thought here. It's too bad it didn't work out. It seemed like it was never going to work out because of just the way that it was handled, the interpersonal side. And health is a skill.
Yeah.
There's also, I think there's just as much of a chance of him putting up a 4 or 5 WAR season for the Red Sox as him playing, 65 games and really, unfortunately, not making an impact. We'll
Right.
see.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's I think what ultimately Mozeliak and crew are gambling on here is that what are the odds after back-to-back years of this same problem that suddenly he's completely back to normal, healthy, and has a full productive season. And when you add that into the fact that Mozeliak has stated one of their stated objectives is to bring more consistency to the lineup, bring more regular at bats for people who they want to give regular at bats to. Um, it makes sense to move O'Neill, someone who you cannot reasonably project the amount of at bats they're going to get, how often they're going to play, and what position they're going to play. So it makes sense, but I hate it. And I think like if you really were looking at 2024 as a year to try to win a championship, I think having Tyler O'Neill on your team makes more sense than not having him on your team. But obviously the Cardinals are always trying to blend tomorrow's view with 3 years down the road view.
Yeah.
And while that frustrates us, it is pretty consistent with how they've approached things for a long time now. And I think even though we are huge fans of Tyler O'Neill, like it's obvious that his value as a trade chip in and of himself as a single item in a trade was not particularly valuable.
That's, I think, the other point where Cardinals fans should be frustrated. Like the Cardinals, I'm going to use the phrase pussyfoot. They pussyfooted around the handling of this player. I think that if you
now
would
have to put that explicit tag on our show. Thank you, Ben.
If they would have traded him at the same time last year, is his value double? If they would have traded him after his great 21 season, which they would have been inadvisable, I think. But let's say if they made the decision at that point to move on from him, his value would have been 10 times. I don't know. But obviously coming off a 5-war season with that control, they like let this player be unhealthy, kind of drop off, and then ship him for one part that seems like he might be effective, and the other part that's kind of like Dakota Hudson light. I think Cardinals fans should be mad about that.
It is emblematic or represents Mozeliak's bad timing with a number of trades, right? Like with O'Neill, this is basically like the lowest value he's arguably had in quite a while. So you're trading him, you're selling low on Tyler O'Neill, whereas trading like a Dalis or a Rosarina or whatever, they sold too early, right? Those guys ended up being way better than anyone projected them to be. Now, flip side to that, there's a chance that this is like the Luke Voit trade. Mozeliak nailed the right time to trade Luke Voit. He had another good year or two in him, but it was still that sort of like low value, high power. Like there's a million of those guys in the league, and the Cardinals got maybe their best reliever of the last 5 years from that. And so there's a world where O'Neill goes and has a mediocre season with the Red Sox, and we now have another key piece of our bullpen, and Mozeliak nailed it. We just don't know, but like it certainly felt like this was a sell low, and you rarely do you want to be in the position of being the one selling low on someone. So we'll see. It's a bummer. RIP to a real one. We love you, Tyler O'Neill. Good luck in Boston.
I think Boston is going to love him too.
Yeah, I think so too. He's going to be eating chowder and bouncing balls off the green monster. It'll be interesting to see how he does in left field, if that's where they play him in Boston.
I don't know if they've announced this yet, but if I was Alex Cora, I would put him in right, because right is such a weird shape and depth and everything, and he's such a good fielder. But you put him in left, and maybe he stays healthier. And if he doesn't win a Gold Glove, if he's not playing like that, maybe he puts up some great offensive numbers. We'll see.
Well, they have some outfield competition themselves. Cedeno Rafaela, I think, Wilyer Abreu. They've got a few pieces. There's a reason why they traded Verdugo also. They had some outfield depth as well. So he might end up being a platoon player for them. Just we'll see. So let's talk about who they got back for him. What now matters most to Cardinal fans. Ben, you want to give us a sort of a breakdown on these guys?
Yeah, I think the one that everyone's excited about, and I think for pretty good reason, is the righty relief pitcher named Nick Robertson, which I had to look this up. He was the only Nick Robertson I could find in baseball. Is that shocking to you?
Yeah, it feels like there's 6 of them, but I guess not.
No, I didn't believe myself when I'm searching in Baseball Reference. I'm searching. He's at me on Twitter if I'm wrong, but I thought that was fascinating. Anyways, Nick Robertson, he's 6'6", 265,
That's
big
a
old
beefy
boy.
boy. That's a beefy boy.
He is a massively beefy boy. He was a former Dodgers farmhand. He was traded midseason in 2023 in the trade that brought the Dodgers Kike Hernandez. I just bring that up to say he's coming from the Dodgers system, which I think is something to be a little bit excited about. His fastball sits at 95 miles per hour. He's got a slider and a change. But it's really the fastball changeup combination. If you've watched any video of this guy, he throws a changeup hard. It's like 88, 89, and it has good downward movement. And I think that there's a chance that the slider can improve. This guy's got stuff. He's got a weird delivery. It's all arms and legs. He's a big boy, throws a hard fastball. But that changeup could end up being a pretty deadly weapon. And I think that it would not be surprising to me if he's throwing in the 7th and 8th inning pretty early in the season here. I think he's got good stuff. It's just, can he be consistent? Can he stay in the zone? Can that changeup be thrown for a strike or close enough to a strike to get hitters to swing over it? As long as he can do that, I think this is a pretty good piece. And again, I think I mentioned this already, but you're getting 5-6 years of control on this guy as well,
Right.
Including options. He's he's kind of your guy for a while, which is fun.
Yeah. Like I think a potentially very valuable piece. And we've talked about the Cardinals building a bullpen in a lot of different ways and acquiring options in a lot of different ways. And while it sucks that this cost Tyler O'Neill, I mean, it is someone who cost Tyler O'Neill. There is some reasonable projection of competence and value here. So I suspect that we'll see him early and often as the Cardinals figure out what they have in this guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
They did get someone else as well that is less exciting. Whenever in a trade, whenever the GM or whoever is pitching them as valuable depth for your minors, your expectations should be tempered. But yeah, Ben, tell us a little bit about this guy.
Victor Santos. He's a big guy as well, not as big as Nick Robertson, but he is a right-handed starting pitcher. He did not pitch a single inning for the Red Sox last year, dealing with elbow issue. He seems to be coming back healthy. He is a fastball sinker guy. He also features a pretty mid slider and a pretty mid. It's kind of like a changeup splitter, hybrid-y type pitch, but he's a fastball sinker. His sinker sits about 92. He is known for command. He stays in the zone. But there's nothing that really jumps off the page here. He should be available and he should be within the zone. This to me is he makes a lot of sense in the AAA rotation. And maybe a spot starter type guy for the big league club, a guy that you can come up, give you 4 or 5 innings, hopefully keep you within the game. And then be sent back down. I wouldn't be surprised if he makes his Cardinal debut this year, but I don't think the ceiling isn't very high, is I guess what I mean to say.
Yeah. I think, frankly, if we see him at the major league level this year, things are starting to fall apart.
He could be a game 1 starter and a doubleheader. But I think for the most part,
yeah.
I'm not excited about him.
Yeah, but you do get, these are games that need to be played, and all these teams have to be staffed, and so it is part of the game is bringing people in for your minor league teams, and you want those teams to be competitive. So, so that's it. So that the end of the Tyler O'Neill era ends not with a bang, but with a whimper. And we wish him good luck on whatever the hell the Boston Red Sox are trying to do over there.
Yeah, well, they got the new brain trust over there. We'll see. But I like Jarren Duran. I like some players they have over there. They need some pitching. They need to sign a Yamamoto or a Blake Snell, but who doesn't?
Yeah, whenever the trade was announced in that like small window, if you're like horribly online like Ben and I are, there was like an hour, if even that, in between the breaking news that Tyler O'Neill had been traded to the Red Sox, and before we actually knew what the Cardinals got back. Like there was a part of me, I think I put this in the bird scored too, is like, man, what if I wanted it so bad to be part of a package for Chris Sale.
Oh yeah.
And of course that wasn't the case. It was quite the opposite, but
yeah. I saw people on Twitter saying it's going to be like Cutter Crawford or something like that. Like people
no.
really, I think, overestimating Tyler O'Neill's current value.
Yeah.
But
This was I think this was a good return for his current value, you know?
yeah, it's
So
again, it's not amazing, but it's effective pitchers and like 10 to 12 years of service time. And that
yeah.
is, I think people underestimate the value of that.
Yeah. And the Cardinals need pitching. And
Yes, they do.
arguably we know we needed to trade outfielders. Was this exactly like the trade we wanted or the makeup of it? Not really, but it had to happen. So
Like Victor
um,
Santos takes the spot of Jake Woodford and Dakota Hudson, but he's making league minimum rather than, going through ARB and all that. So like
right.
teams need these guys. It is not sexy or exciting, but that's how baseball go.
Yeah. Yep. Well, there's another rumor circulating that you and I have actually talked a lot about. And
Yeah.
now we have at
Or
least,
we have been banging this drum.
yes, we have some confirmation that the Cardinals are interested in extending Paul Goldschmidt.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, I'll start like we've said it on the show. You just said it again. Like this seems like an obvious thing to me. Like I know an opinion out there of um, why do it now? Why not let him play out the season, see how it goes, etc. And I think there's some fine logic around that. But at the end of the day, like I think Paul Goldschmidt should end his career as a Cardinal, not just for like legacy narrative-y things. Like really, that's a small factor in my thought process around extending Paul Goldschmidt. My thought is that he just had a quote unquote down year and he was the most valuable player on the team. We don't have someone beating down the door to play first base for the St. Louis Cardinals. I know you could argue Jordan Walker or maybe slide Nolan Gorman over to first base and that frees up a spot for Donovan. Like there are things that work without a Paul Goldschmidt, but I think why not just have Paul Goldschmidt there? He has the type of profile that we believe will age well. It has already aged well. He is 36 years old and just won an MVP. So we
Yep.
have evidence that he is aging well. Like it just makes a ton of sense to us to extend Paul Goldschmidt. Do it now, do it at the end of the season, whatever. I don't care. But he should be the starting first baseman for the next year and, hopefully a reasonable amount of years after that. I think he himself has said he's not really looking to play into his 40s. So, like, I don't think this deal has to be crazy, super long. It just seems obvious. Like, he's one of the best first basemen in baseball. Like, why wouldn't you want him to continue to be a Cardinal? Ben, what do you think?
Fully agree with everything you just said. I think we talked about it. His season in 2023 was less lucky than his MVP season, but he essentially had the same season. I
Yeah.
think that his defense is massively underrated. He is one of the best defensive first basemen in baseball, whatever metric you want to look at. He hits the ball hard. Like you said, he's defied the aging curve. He plays pretty much every day. He has only had one year in his entire career. It was in 2014 where he played 109 games. Every other year he's played 150 plus, except for, of course, the pandemic season. He's available. I don't think he's going to cost that much, especially at his age. And I think that would the team be slightly better defensively if Jordan Walker is playing first base? Maybe. I don't know. Jordan Walker's never played first base.
Yeah.
He's definitely never played first base at the big league level. It's not that easy. Paul Goldschmidt is, I would argue, the best. Or I'll go back to what I said
After,
earlier. One of the best after Christian Walker,
Christian
of
Walker,
course, the guy who replaced him, which is kind of funny in Arizona. But yeah, I also agree. Like, I think that it is highly likely that as Goldie ages, he will keep a high batting average and a high walk rate. And the power will slip, but he'll still be a valuable player. I have written here on the outline. I think we should compare him to Adrian Beltre. There's Justin Turner is a good comp as well, except for Justin Turner is not as good of a defensive player. But these guys that have these profiles that hit the ball hard, that are good defensively, can stay valuable for a while. And I'm willing to make that bet, and I think the Cardinals should too. Not to mention, like, got to keep these stars around a little bit. I know you said like the legacy and the Hall of Fame and that stuff is less a part of it, but I want to watch stars. I want to watch the greats, and Goldie's one of the greats.
Yeah. I think that those factors are a part of the equation, but if you're out there feeling like the Cardinals extending Paul Goldschmidt is similar to our extension for an Adam Wainwright or even a Yadier Molina, where like it was arguably not the best baseball move, but everyone wanted it anyway because of their legacy on the team. Like that is not the case here. This would be extending a very valuable and projected to still be a very valuable major league player. And then you can add on the legacy stuff, which is, he's almost assuredly a future Hall of Famer at this point. And
Yeah, I think that door is pretty much done,
yeah, I
unless
mean,
he like
technically,
really.
yeah, he's not there yet, but like, so unless he were to retire tomorrow or something, like it seems very likely that he'll get there.
Also, like,
and yeah,
do you want Goldie being a Yankee? Do you want Goldie being a Philly or come on, like,
or a
I can't
Cub?
do that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I can't do that.
yeah, he'll get signed by someone, and we'll be pissed because it'll be a competitive team because they'll be like, hell yeah, we want Paul Goldschmidt. Who doesn't want
Yeah,
Paul Goldschmidt on their team? Worst case scenario, he goes in DHs. And it's like, that would be great too,
it would.
So, yeah, there's no reason not to do this. I do get like, why now? Why not see what 2024 Goldie is in case there is like a complete collapse? But I just don't see it coming. And if you can get him now, just lock it up and get it over with. And I think it can be like, he'll probably do a 2-year deal, and then you can do 1 year after that if he still wants to keep playing. Like, it doesn't have to be crazy. A couple more numbers because you brought it up too. Like last year, he had a higher average exit velocity than his MVP season, and he had a higher hard hit percentage than his MVP season. And we talk about expected weighted on base average a lot. It's a really good stat for just basically telling you forget about results. What was the process? And his process in 2023 was identical, a 0.367 expected weighted on base average in both 2022 and 2023. And what you saw is in 2022, he got very lucky with hard hit ball outcomes. And in 2023, he got slightly unlucky. He overperformed his expected weighted on base average in 2022, and he underperformed it in 2023. But the underlying approach was like literally the exact same.
Yeah.
And some would argue that those hard hit numbers would actually seem to imply that he's trending upwards rather than downwards. So there's nothing in here short of a sudden age related collapse, which does happen.
Yeah.
To make you think that he won't be a valuable player in 2024. He was the most valuable player on the Cardinals last year.
Yeah. Which that's a whole other conversation.
I know that
it's
like
still
that's
valuable.
not still, yeah, almost for WAR, and he's probably going to get in the 20-25 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
And current cost of a WAR, like that's immediately a bargain.
I think that's like the biggest part of this conversation is that I feel like people think that Walker or Gorman is going to slide into first and they're just going to put up 4 or 5 WAR. It does.
Yeah.
This It doesn't work like that.
No.
Like, there's a reason Paul Goldschmidt is probably going to the Hall of Fame, and that's because he puts up 4 or 5 WAR every year, and he's done it for almost 20 years at this point.
Yeah, almost 20 years.
Not quite. A little hyperbolic there, but yeah, I fully co-sign that. I also think, and this is narrative-y, but even in just the time that he's been a Cardinal, he has shown his willingness to make adjustments, to find new bats, find new technology, find new ways to get better. Like, he is so actively hungry to stay ahead of the curve, to
avoiding vaccines.
Well, hey, he's done pretty well post that. So
no, we do.
And I mean, look at you. You're all vaxxed up and you look like shit.
Shit.
So
I've only gone downhill. That's just continued to decline though. That wasn't the start of a decline.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I don't like to talk about that
I
part.
know. I've avoided bringing it up, but I couldn't resist.
I do hate it though.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, Cardinal legend. Like this, I guess I should say, like, this can be both a fun, successful narrative-y type thing and also a good baseball move. And so it's like, to me, it's a win-win.
I want to win a championship with Goldschmidt.
Yeah.
I think that'd be so much. I just want it. I want it.
Or
I
at
want
least,
it. I want it.
I mean, he's been to the NLCS as a Cardinal. Everyone has collectively chosen to forget the 2019 NLCS.
Yeah.
But I want to see Goldie and Arenado together on a deep playoff run. Obviously a championship for sure, but even just like having them in a competitive NLCS, a World Series, something like that would be so much fun.
Yeah, fully agree.
Of course, the Dodgers now exist in their capacity, so
yeah, they get bounced out in the first round anyways.
Yeah, they're gonna. I've been saying
Shohei can't fix that. Shohei doesn't have any playoff pedigree. He doesn't even know what he's doing.
It's a great point. They're gonna lose in 4 to the Philadelphia Phillies after Schwarber hits 6 home runs off of Clayton Kershaw.
Hey, we'll see if the Rockies let him even take the division this year. That's
a good point.
It starts at 0-0, Nate.
Everyone's talking about the Dodgers, but let us not forget the Rockies. Chris Bryant. This is his year.
Yeah.
Okay, so full support for the Goldie extension. Hope it gets done. I bet it will. He signed the extension with the Cardinals immediately on a team friendly deal. I can't imagine now would be the time where he decides, never mind, I'm gonna test free agency, unless he's just pissed at the Cardinals, which
is wouldn't blame him fully for.
Yeah, those seems unlikely. Okay, so a few more Cardinal related topics. Some chips are starting to come off the board. Rumors are flying now that Ohtani is signed. The next one is the Yamamoto sweepstakes is still rolling. The good thing about the Yamamoto thing is that his posting window is relatively small. I think it was 45 days and has been going for a couple weeks now. So we should get an answer to where Yamamoto is going to go pretty quickly. Everyone is having a great time because Nootbaar is out there hanging with him again. That's our best hope at this point because it seems like everybody is still in on him. There was some reporting that the Cardinals are in on him, which isn't a surprise. We've known that. I think the doubt is that the Cardinals are a top suitor. There are rumors of his ask has become quite a bidding war. I've seen talk that it is approaching $300 million for him, which I do feel like means the Cardinals are probably out of it. But there's still a lot of other options out there. How are you feeling about the rotation and the Cardinals options right now?
Obviously if I was in charge, I would do everything I could to sign Yamamoto. I think that's the number one. It more just comes down to where I'm happy where the team is going for the most part. But my number one concern is the rotation and the depth in that rotation. And I think why we should feel optimistic is because Yamamoto and Imanaga have not signed. Dylan Cease has not been traded. We'll see. I'll try to pay attention while we're on this on the pod right now, but it seems like Glasnow is highly likely to be traded to the Dodgers, which is just so annoying if you're a Cardinals fan or any fan that's not Dodgers. But
yeah.
I feel strongly that the Cardinals need to make one more move, and I am confident, or I am okay rolling the dice on some of the other old guys. I'm okay with Zach Thompson being in the conversation to some degree. I am not okay with Steven Matz and Lance Lynn anchoring the back end of the rotation for 162 this year. And I just think I think it should be Yamamoto, as we talked about. Like, there's anything to learn from this Shohei Ohtani signing, it's that teams have a lot of money. And I know the Dodgers are the Dodgers and they're at the top. Not only do they have a ton of cash, a good TV deal, and they're well run, but these teams have a lot of money. Build-A-Wit is worth $4 billion. The Cardinals can make this happen. They really should make this happen. It is their biggest weakness. It would be the silver bullet to their problems. It would get people, dummies like Nate and I, off their backs, at least for a little while. But we need to see something.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Like right now, I feel like we are maybe a tick better than what we went into 2023 as. Like I'm more confident with this rotation than I was in 2023.
Yes.
But not by a lot, you know? And so like as we saw in 2023, doesn't take a lot for this whole thing to start to collapse. But I do think they're in a better spot. But just one more starting pitcher of note, I think we can go into this year. Not obviously, we're not going to compete with like what the Dodgers are doing or what the Braves are doing. But like, if we can get one more good starting pitcher, I do think you go in saying like we're a top 6 team in the NL. Yeah. And does it in that way? Well, we'll find out. You got to play the game, so on and so forth. Right now, I think we're right at that edge of we're like at the top of the middle, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It's clearly the Cardinals' biggest gap.
Yeah. And there's multiple solutions out there.
There are. And this kind of leads me into wanting to talk about what I've been thinking about this over the last week, where I think the Cardinals' second biggest issue is right now, at least with the current roster construction. And currently, if you look at the team, the likely bench for the Cardinals is Ivan Herrera, which totally makes sense. Very happy about that. But then we have Richie Palacios, Alec Burleson, and Dylan Carlson. My biggest issue with that is that those are 3 players that are kind of the same guy, obviously different shapes and sizes and all that kind of stuff, but they're all 3 outfielders. Dylan Carlson's the only one that's a really good defender. Richie Palacios, I think the jury's still out on that. We'll see. By the way, he's played some second base in his career. Curious to see what that looks like. But we're kind of back in this spot where, okay, we don't really have a infield option. Brendan Donovan, is he going to be DHing? Is he going to be playing infield? He's going to be playing outfield. I think that they need to diversify the bench a little bit. And I think that is something that you can do extremely cheaply, and go get a veteran who has a good glove that you can bounce around the infield.
Is Corey Dickerson
no more outfielders? No, that's what getting away from
Dickerson, that. Nationals. I can't tell. I think he's retired.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, so all of those guys that you've listed are major league level players, right? So we're basically we're calling for one more trade where you ship out somebody from this list.
The roster construction doesn't make sense. That's really what I'm getting at. Like, you have too many people they have too many redundancies in the same spot, and I think a move should be made.
Yeah, well, trading Tyler O'Neill was one of them. You know, that cleared up one spot, but there's still too many uncertain outfielders on the team. And you don't have him on your list here, but I think there's a real shot that Victor Scott is a Victor Scott the second, Victor Scott 2 is
VC2
VC2
or
wait,
VS2.
VS2.
I know how Scott is spelled.
Yeah. VC2 sounds a lot better though.
It does.
Had to track down a VCR the other day.
Okay.
You know what's annoying? They're super expensive now
They
because
should
no
be.
one
Punish idiots like you. No,
I deserve to be punished for wanting to find a VCR
no,
for a project for my mom.
I actually have no room to talk. I recently bought a CD player.
Why?
Because I have my own reasons.
You
But
love the fidelity of a.
yeah, essentially.
No, it's not better than anything.
Yes, it is.
I disagree.
Well, you're wrong. Read a
I'm
book,
pretty.
Nate.
I've read. Do I need to point my camera towards my library?
Oh my God.
So what are we even talking? Victor Scott. So I think he is also going to play a role in 2024. And so that's another outfielder and one with arguably more upside than any of these guys. So you'd want to play him over most of these guys. So yeah. I mean, I still have hope for the Alec Burleson like package that is the center of the Dylan Cease trade or something like that.
Yeah. I think Brendan Donovan, and I love him. I think he's a great player.
Mm-hmm.
I love his approach and everything like that. I don't think he's a great defender. I think that, roster
Gold Glove winner
resource.
Brendan Donovan.
Well, I have thoughts on that.
Yeah.
But we'll take it as a Cardinals podcast. We'll take
Sure.
it. But anyways, I think that he makes the most sense. I think he fits in with the team the least. We have, I think Tommy Edman would be a better second baseman. I think Nolan Gorman would be a better second baseman. I think that getting Jordan Walker at bats at DH, Nolan Gorman at bats at DH, Wilson Contreras at bats at DH make more sense than just handing it over to Brendan Donovan. I also think that because of his previous production and his control, that he can actually go get you a Dylan Cease, Tyler Gilbert, whoever the flavor that you're, Edward Cabrera, whoever you're looking for. Like we say all the time, like you have to give up, value to get it back. I think he is the misshapen puzzle piece that doesn't really click in. I'll just leave it there. That's the move I would make.
Yeah. Well, I've seen this debate too, where it's like, okay, do you trade Brendan Donovan or Nolan Gorman for a young, controllable starter? And I agree with you. Like, it has always made sense to me that Donovan is the choice there. If it is really a binary choice like that between Gorman and Donovan, it seems kind of easy to me that you would trade Brendan Donovan over Nolan Gorman.
And I think a Dylan Carlson, Brendan Donovan as the beginning of the package to get a nice controllable starting pitcher is pretty competitive. The service time, Dylan Carlson, the potential in the glove, and then Brendan Donovan, I think, is a bit of a known quantity at this point. So maybe tweet at us if we're having two Cardinals rose-colored glasses on that thought, but I think that can actually get you a pretty nice player.
Well, Donovan was nearly a 4-WAR player in his rookie year, and then before he got hurt last year, it kind of felt like we were seeing like the next leg up for Brendan Donovan, which is part of why people don't want the Cardinals to trade him but like you do see this where it's like his OBP, and if suddenly he's popping 20 home runs a year too, it's like, and his utility, his ability to play everywhere, like it's a truly valuable player,
But while a player's stock is rising, trade him to get a piece that you need rather than mistiming it the other direction. That's kind of my thought process.
Yeah.
And again, I want to be clear. I like Brendan Donovan.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Unless he's like the next Ben Zobrist and it's like, oh shit, we shouldn't have traded him.
Well,
but maybe it's still worth it because if you can get a Logan Gilbert, I don't think they're trading him, but maybe Brian Wu.
And I guess what my point is, like, the Cardinals don't need a Ben Zobrist. They need pitching. They have position players. They have a decent offense. It's not what they need.
Yeah, totally. Fans have a hard time giving up the everyday player for the pitcher.
I get it.
Yeah. But yeah, totally. Like, see, I don't know if you've seen some of the stuff out there that people want, that the White Sox asking price for like a Dylan Cease, it's like Tink Hence and a whole bunch of other stuff.
Yeah.
I would much rather, like, the Mariners could really use a Brendan Donovan.
Yeah.
And I know their outfield is weird, but an Alec Burleson could fit there too.
I mean, they had one of the worst OPS pluses from the DH position last year. Like, if Alec Burleson just came in and was DH, that would be a help for that team.
Yeah. Well, there's still a lot of time left in the offseason, and there's still a lot of free agents. So I think there's going to be a lot of news over the next few weeks. Well, actually, it's probably going to slow here for a week or two as everybody goes into the holiday season.
Yeah.
But because of the Ohtani stuff, like, I think this offseason is really going to drag for a while. And so the Cardinals definitely moved fast on some of their priorities, but I think still seems like there's something else coming down the line. Anything else Cardinal related you want to talk about before we go to the break?
Oh, I know Bernie was telling me earlier this week. Bernie Michaelis was telling me how aggressive and how locked in Mozeliak is compared to other years. And
I mean, Lynn and Gibson, man, it's a good thing we got there first.
Is aggressive the right word?
No, I mean, I don't know. Like, aggressive in that they acted first. Sure. But I don't think that Mozeliak has an aggressive bone in his body.
Was he elbowing other clubs out of the way so he could get that Kyle Gibson contract locked down?
Yeah, he was,
I don't think so.
His bow tie was spinning like a saw blade, cutting through all the red tape to get those Lynn and Gibson contracts done.
Yeah, light him up, Nate.
Yeah. I think there's a possibility that the Sonny Gray deal ages, like, immediately looks like a bargain.
Yeah. Oh, no, I do think we talked about it the week he signed. I think I wouldn't be surprised, other than the Ohtani deal, I wouldn't be surprised if people are saying that was the best signing from a value standpoint of the offseason.
Yeah. Especially if Yamamoto does end up in the 300 plus million. Like, it's going. Yeah. So,
yeah. I have a really quick, I'm sorry. Something I've been thinking about is, and tell me to shut the hell up if this is like well tread and I've just missed it somehow. But is the market, is there a market inefficiency of signing these super high end players to super expensive contracts? And my thought process being like, so these players that are going for $30 million a year plus, right? They're players who you are making the bet that they're going to put up 4, 5, 6 WAR, maybe more, maybe win an MVP, right? But like the salary is kind of capped. It's not really matching. Like, if Shohei's putting up 10 WAR a year, he's not getting paid $100 million.
Right.
So, like, is the inefficiency, it's finding those low level guys that pop off and put up 2, 3 WAR, but also is the inverse true on the high end players? Like, you're paying Bryce Harper, I don't know what he makes off the top of my head, but you're paying him $30 million a year or whatever it is, but he's consistently putting up 5 WAR. Like, that is surplus value year after year. That's pretty significant. Do we know this, or am I just catching up and I'm just an idiot? But do you know what I'm trying to say?
I think you framing it as a market inefficiency is maybe not how it's often discussed, but I think the idea that signing big name players to high dollar contracts has been viewed as a high risk, high reward proposal for a while now.
Yeah.
And that, like, high reward doesn't necessarily get framed in that way as much as you're putting it, the like dollar to WAR return.
Right.
But there's a reason why everyone is pursuing those guys and they do ultimately get those giant contracts, is because they are the most likely to return excess value. But the risk is so high because you're contributing, especially if you're not a major market team, you are committing a quarter, if not more at times, of your overall budget to one guy, hoping to get that like $60 million surplus when you paid him 30
Yeah.
and they put up 9 WAR, like, hell yeah, that is like they paid for their entire contract maybe in that one season. But when they don't, when they get hurt or whatever it might be, now you've committed, your team is
Right.
tanked, right? So
the Cardinals could be that team, and they have
Mhm.
refused to be that team. And I'm like, to focus it specifically on Mo and Co. Like, are they missing that aspect, or are they
Mhm.
just so risk adverse that, like, you look at Mookie Betts, he's making $30 million a year. That's a lot of money. He's exceeded that value each
Mhm.
one of the years he's been with the Dodgers.
Yeah. Well, the Cardinals could double their payroll and still be a profitable team, I'm sure. That's one of the inherent flaws of, like, having this sport be driven as a capitalistic endeavor,
Right.
right? So, which we'll talk about in the after the break here. I've got some thoughts
Okay. Yeah. Sorry about that. I
on
just
the
had to.
Ohtani,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, you know, hell yeah, go pay good players, good money. It'll make your team better. All right. So we want to talk about other we want to talk about a lot of things around the league. But before we do, we want to remind our listeners that this show is listener supported on Patreon. Patreon.com/talking about birds. Listeners or patrons at every level get access to our private Discord server. It's the bird score, tweet, baby. We've got a lot going on in there right now, a lot of conversation. We're checking jet uh, uh lanes.
Oh, way
We're
to land that.
we
Get
got
it?
people busting down doors, checking what kind of stews being made. We're on the ground in the bird scored, and you can be too by joining our Patreon at any level. We also have cool shirts, and you get one if you sign up at the Patreon at one of the even just one up from the lowest level. We're practically giving them away. You're losing money by not joining the Patreon at this point. The Bird Scored is a great place to connect with other listeners and get away from all the noise of social media and people dropping insane rumors. We'll filter it for you. Only the best rumors make it to the Bird Scored.
That's right.
Let's see. Oh, you can also call us. Leave a voicemail. 848 birds. Questions, comments, statements, anything you want to tell us. 848 birds. And Hambone, it's at this point that I need to issue an apology. So last week when we were talking about the phone number, talked about 2 calls that we got. One, I played part of it on the show. It was a bit. Thanks for the call. And another one where I thought our listener just called and yelled kangaroo, which I also thought was an insane bit.
Yeah.
Well, they called back. And the thing that you never want to do as someone who's trying to be funny is they called back to explain the joke.
Yeah.
And to that, I am sorry. They yelled, but I think I think there's a little bit of fault on both sides here. But they simply yelled bangaroo,
Yeah.
not kangaroo.
Mm-hmm.
And bangaroo was a contribution to a game that we played that was in the post credits, so to speak, of a previous episode. So it's a real deep cut. So first of all, thank you to the listener who made it all the way through and then called us to contribute to the game. Just screaming it, I did not remember that we had done that was in the episode and that this might be a contribution. So that's on me.
Yeah.
And I will say that Bangaroo is a fantastic addition. And I think it might be the winner for you, Ben
Wow.
Bangaroo.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
So
guess I'll just take this moment to say that sometimes Nate sneaks little snippets in after the episode, and I'm unaware of it until times like this where it's thrown in my face.
it's not always there. It all depends on what gets cut from the show and what, so.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you for calling. 1, with a contribution to our dumb game, and 2, for the clarification of your previous call.
Yeah.
So anyway, 848 birds. You know what's also funny? I've been getting a shit ton of text messages to that phone number from a spam bot thing. And so there's something out there I had actually had this number for like 2 months before I talked about it on the show. I just like locked it up. You got to lock up 848 birds as soon as you see it.
Yeah.
And no, I had never received a single thing to it. And as soon as I talked about it on the show, I get these spam text messages. So there's something out there. Some company is like spider crawling transcripts of every podcast, looking for phone numbers to send spam to, which I just thought was interesting that our show ended up in this like spider network.
That's how you know you've made it in the podcasting game.
Yeah, or one of our listeners is a jackass.
Just don't sign us up for political calls.
Yeah. Well, Ben, if people want to follow us otherwise, where can they find us online?
Follow us on the Twitter at Talk About Birds. We are on Instagram at Talking About Birds. This show is available on Spotify. Listen to us on Spotify. We have a TikTok. Come and check us out on TikTok. Talkaboutbirds@gmail.com for any questions, comments, concerns. Obviously, you can go to 848-48-BIRDS if you want to just leave us a voicemail, as Nate mentioned. And you can find all of that information at talkingaboutbirds.com.
Talkingaboutbirds.com. All right, we're gonna do the whole league news segment, but let's start with the Ohtani deal, and I want to get into some of the specifics because
Shohei Ohtani signs for 10 years and $700 million. End of story. Nothing else to talk about.
It's a fascinating situation. And there's a lot to unpack here. And so I thought it might be helpful to some of our listeners if we do try to simply break down how this contract actually works and its implications.
Yeah.
So I'm going to run through a couple things, and then Ben, you fill in where I miss out. And then I want to talk about the like broader, like what this means for the league and what we may see down the line.
Sure.
So 700 million paid out over 20 years. For the first 10 years, his salary on the books is $2 million a year. And then for another 10 years, this is the deferral part, he is paid $68 million a year. And that is all true. And one of the other benefits of this is that the way deferrals work is that you are taxed based off of where you live when you are paid the deferral. So not only is he paid $68 million later, he can move out of California, which has a high tax rate. So he gets a lot of tax benefits from this. So it is $700 million with 680 of it deferred for 10 years. Now, the way these deferrals work, though, is the team does have to put a portion of this into an escrow account. And so from my understanding, for these first 10 years, while they are not paying Ohtani directly, $70 million a year, they do have to put something like $45 million of it a year into an escrow account,
right,
to save for Ohtani. And from my understanding, that can be in an interest-bearing account. So the Dodgers can actually like save off of this money and lighten their load. But that money is also goes against the CBT, the competitive balance stuff. So it is not simply $2 million a year and then suddenly $68 million a year.
Right.
Like the Dodgers are paying a good majority of this right now for the next 10 years and then 10 years after that. So it's not something as clean as they only have to pay two, and then 68. But of course, they have so much money, as this reveals, and we've all known for a long time, that it doesn't really matter. But that's how that works. What am I missing here, Ben? I know there's a lot of details in this.
Yeah, well, I mean, that is the long and the short of it. Mm-hmm. As Shohei has said, as the Dodgers have said, he was willing to make this move with other teams. It was brought up to the Giants. It was brought up to the Blue Jays. Essentially, with being on the Angels for so long, essentially he wants to guarantee that his high pay. Well, I think it's two-factor. He wanted to be the highest paid. He wanted to set the record for the largest sports contract in sports history. Now, you and I and our listeners
I also
know
set that record, by the way.
Who wouldn't?
Yeah.
You and I know that he did, but he didn't really. It's different. But he did. His agent, the press release went out, and I think a casual baseball fan looks at that and says, "Oh my God, $700 million." So it beats Messi. It beats any other sports contract that's ever existed. So I think there's one part of Shohei that really wanted to do that. The other part of him that wanted to remain competitive within his baseball team and not hamstring his baseball team. Obviously, when you're going with the Dodgers, you don't really worry about hamstringing them because they have more money than anybody. So it's not really a big deal. Um, and I think it also, like, the other factor of this is, or what am I trying to say? I don't think that this is going to be a problem. I don't think this is how baseball is going to go, because 99 players out of 100 would say, no, I want that money so that I can put it in a high interest account and make my own money off of it right now. Money now is always worth more than money in the future. We've talked about that 1,000 times. But no other player in baseball has the level of sponsorship deals that Shohei Ohtani does, not only in America, but in Japan. He can make more. So he made reportedly $40 million from endorsements last year, and that was on the Angels. He's now going to one of the two biggest teams in baseball, in the city, in LA, which obviously he was still in. But like I think his endorsements are going to go through the roof. Like, I'm all over the place right now, but
Yeah.
this is a unicorn player, a unicorn contract, a unicorn situation. I'm not worried about it breaking baseball. I do find it annoying. And I think it is important to note what you're talking about, though. Like, it's not like not every team is going to go, oh, we're going to do this with all of our players, and we're just going to sign all the best players, and we're going to have a super team because of that escrow factor. It's still money that you can't touch. You can invest it, but it needs to be set aside as part of the CBA. So I don't know. Is it annoying as a fan of not the Dodgers? I think so, but I think I'm more annoyed by the fact that he's a Dodger than the way that the deal is
Yeah.
shaken out.
Yeah, well, the fact that this was Ohtani driven, that he actually made basically the same. He's so good and he's so popular that he's making offers to these teams. It's not the other way around.
Right.
But he made basically this exact same offer, and then multiple teams were agreeable to it, and then he chose the Dodgers, which, like, of course, what I think most players probably want to play for the Dodgers right now. Right. So it does make it like it's a little bit less about the Dodgers because most teams could have done this.
I saw that the Dodgers have made the playoffs every year that Shohei Ohtani has been a professional player, and that includes when he was in Japan.
Yeah, I mean they're the class of the league at this point, right? So, and deferrals are not uncommon. This is the most extreme version of it, but the Cardinals are currently paying deferrals. They are paying Matt Holliday $1.5 million a year until 2029. Adam Wainwright will be the recipient of deferrals. Nolan Arenado is the recipient of deferrals. So the Cardinals have done this. It's not uncommon. This degree of balancing is extreme. And I agree that I think you're right and that we're not going to see a ton of this. I think maybe we see a little bit more of it in these teams that are trying to form these sort of like super team moments like that, in this sort of unicorn opportunity where an MVP level player hits free agency.
Yeah.
Like that just doesn't happen that much. Not like this, and someone who is, well, Ohtani has a legitimate case to be called the greatest baseball player of all time. And so like, who knows if we'll ever see that again. So it is a very unicorn moment. And like you said, you have to pay a lot. Like money is worth more now than it is tomorrow. So there's been some people who've done some projections on this, that if they had just paid it all up front, and not deferred it for the bulk of it for 10 years, that really this equals out to 10 years and $460 million, which if Ohtani had signed that, everyone would be like, congrats, like that makes sense, right? Like that biggest contract in baseball history. It's when it got to the 700 million. It's when I there's something that I want to talk, but Vin's making faces at me.
That's what's so funny about this deal, is because in reality, it's essentially the same thing when you're the Dodgers
Right.
or Ohtani.
Yeah.
Now, like, should be clear, Ohtani is going to be paid $700 million
Yes.
over the next 20 years. That is going to happen. But as far as real world value, like, what I guess my biggest question, and is it just because he wanted to show everybody how big his dick was that he went for the 700 over 20 years? Why didn't they just sign the 10 years $460 million deal? Like, what was his motivation?
It's because he wants the massive contract, but he wants the Dodgers to be able to have some flexibility right now. And
But what I'm saying is, like, since they have to put that amount, they're putting
a lot
$46
of it
million
aside, yeah.
away every year. That's the CBT hit. That's what's happening. Like, it doesn't actually change their flexibility.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
So
saying? Like,
this actually kind of speaks to where I think that there is a problem with this deal. And I'm going to be a little soapboxy here, and I don't know that I'm necessarily going to explain myself perfectly. So I'm sorry if I'm a little um, inconsistent with what I'm about to say, but I the fact that the number is so absurd, and then we start to hear all these little like, oh, well, it is this, but it's kind of this much, and then there's the taxes, and the da 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 da, and there's all these little details that make this absurd amount of money sliced and diced in a million different ways. Um, I think it's bad for the perception of the sport. Let me go on a little bit. The Right now we are in a period of increasing wage and income disparity, right? And when people are looking around for where they're going to spend their increasingly small expendable income, and you see these things that this guy is going to be paid $700 million, and he has set it up in a way, him and the team have set it up in a way where he's going to be able to pay less taxes on it, and that the team is going to be able to earn interest on the deferral, and everybody's going to walk away with an insane amount of money and be able to, in a way, skirt the rules of the current structure that'll allow them to still build a competitive team. You can see why some people might just say this whole thing is bullshit. I don't want anything to do with this insane rich man's game where they can just throw money like that, and also manipulate it in a way where they win even more. You know what I mean? And I think you're seeing some backlash to this contract in that way. And I think that is fair. I think that it impacts how people perceive their willingness to even get involved in the sport of baseball, because it's such bullshit that there's so much money and they're able to uh like manipulate it this way. Now, that said, like, I know that like we actually want the players getting more money because this money already exists, and it should go to them rather than just continue to sit in the coffers of these billionaires. So like I'd rather Ohtani have $700 million. He's done something. He's maybe the best baseball player of all time, than, the owners just having that money and collecting it from everyone. And they're going to increase prices anyway, so might as well go to the players. Like, I get that. But when you zoom out and you look at the people who are like potentially baseball fans, or like the younger generation right now who are bombarded with everything all of the time, why would you go to be a baseball fan when it looks like such bullshit? So like that's part of where I think there's a real problem with stuff like this. And I don't know what the solution is, because I want the players making more money. They should make more money. But it's this contract, and it's the fact that it's so enormous, but then all these little things that make it even more complex and more bullshit. Like you said, it doesn't matter if the Dodgers pay 700 million over 20 years or 450. They have so much money, it doesn't matter anyway. And so it's like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
I'll get off my soapbox, but like, does that make sense?
I think what you said makes sense, and I'm just going to counter argue it for the sake of counter arguing it. But I think what you said makes a lot lines up, and I think people feel that way. I also think that there's another group of people that go, "Oh my god, I need to check. Who is this $700 million
Yeah.
Japanese baseball player? I need to watch Dodgers games. This is exciting. This guy, he makes more money than Messi. He makes more money than anyone in the world. That he plays in LA. I need to learn about Shohei Ohtani." And I also think that like us freaks and the freaks that listen to this show, we care about the intricacies of the contract and how it's being paid out and why that's important and what that does to the Dodgers and why other teams didn't do that or wouldn't do that or whatever it might be. But I think your average fan, your average American, just looks, holy crap, Shohei Ohtani got $700 million to play with the Dodgers. And that's really going to be it. But I hear what you're saying. It's also like Shohei Ohtani is on TV 160 plus days a year. And who the hell's the Guggenheim Group? There's no face, you know what I mean? There's no
Yeah.
face to the name. It's much easier for people to point at this and say, or to get angry or to feel a way about it because he's right there. He's in front of my
Yeah.
face. And well, you know what?
Hey, and he struck out 3 times today. We're
yeah.
paying this guy how much?
And I get what
I don't
people
know
are
why
saying.
it was
Like,
that voice, but
he's
yeah.
not adding community value. He's not adding anything to society. And sounds like he's probably very likely going to move back to Japan and not have to pay California tax at $68 million a year.
Yeah.
Is that really going to make a dent in the California tax budget? I don't know, maybe. But I don't think
it's not a small amount. $680 million is how much he's likely
yeah, but
going to avoid paying
California's
taxes.
economy has like one of the,
Yeah,
it's like
I
the
know.
largest
But
countries.
it's still, it's like it adds to
I
it,
get it.
right? Like, oh, not only does he get 700 million, but they've concocted it in a way where he gets to avoid taxes on that. And it
Right.
just makes it feel like even more bullshit.
And if somebody feels, I have like, they are totally in their right. I don't disagree with them at all. My only pushback on that is like, that is currently how that skill set is valued in today's world. Is that a good thing? Probably not. Should teachers be making more money? Like, there are much other things more important. Of
Yeah.
course they are. But this is our little capitalist hellhole that we get to live in.
Right.
And like you said, I would much rather that massive amount of money go to Shohei Ohtani, who is kind and charitable and cares about other people, than the Guggenheim Group holding on to it and filling their coffers, like you said. So I get both sides. But you know, it is what it is. And I think bullshit is a good term to throw. It is bullshit.
Yeah. There need, I don't know what the solution is here, but like, if it continues down this road where contracts get more and more, there's more and more fuckery in the contracts, I do think it's going to impact people's willingness to get into the sport.
I agree. I do think like the other part, like the CBA or the players group likes this. Like the players,
Oh, sure.
they like to be able to say we have a $700 million player.
Yeah, they passed 500 million, 600 million, all
Yeah.
that, you know, like there's a whole new bar now.
Yeah. But like I said earlier, the player has to agree to it, which I think is the least likely thing to happen going forward. And I truly believe the only reason that Shohei agreed to it is because of his endorsement deals.
He's already,
and I think the endorsement deals are about to go through the roof playing for the Dodgers every day.
Yeah. And the way our finance industry works, like if he needs more money now for some reason, every bank in the universe is gonna be like, hell yeah, give money to like that's why when we talk about like these billionaires too, where it's like you reach a level of money where it doesn't mean anything anymore. You have access to anything and everything that you will ever need at either a low interest rate or no interest rate at all because you have access to unlimited money. So
that was kind of my big takeaway from this, is that like money's fake. The world doesn't mean anything. Like, what's the difference?
Not for everyone else. It means nothing for these people. But if you're out there and you are trying to decide what you want to support.
Oh, no. But I'm talking these people up in this upper echelon. Let's give them $500 million. How about 3/4 of? We'll figure it out.
Oh man, well, we'll have to only refill the yacht that has 1,000 staff on it, once a year instead of twice.
And like, how about this, Nate? Like, if the Dodgers want to, they could take that $460 million, pay him $2 million a year, put that $460 million in an account that's making 5% over the next 10 years. And the Dodgers can significantly cut this bill in half just by the sake of being already extremely wealthy. It is bullshit.
What's that quote? Compound interest is the most powerful thing in the universe, or whatever.
Yeah. I don't know.
There's a Albert Einstein, the most powerful force in the universe is compound interest. Yeah.
And when I hear things like this, I'm like, there's so much money in the world and I have so little of it. But
because it's all here. It's all in the, I'm very ranty right now. If you want more of this, join our capitalist endeavor. The bird scored. So
hey, we're a pro labor podcast. We'll just leave it there.
Yeah. So I'll stop ranting now, but that's my only real concern with this contract. And then on the field, fuck the Dodgers, man. Betts, Freeman, Ohtani. Now they're gonna go and get Glasnow and Yamamoto, and it's like they're building baseball's version of the super team, and it's gonna be hilarious when they lose in 4 to the Phillies in the first round of the playoffs.
That is the good thing about baseball is that they're the crucible of the playoffs. You win 116 games in the regular season, and you still got to win that series.
Bottom half their lineup's not that great. Sure, they might have the best 1, 2, 3 of all time, but
I saw people calling the left side of the infield weak, and it's like Max Muncy, a multi-time All-Star, and Gavin Lux, who was once regarded as one of the top prospects in baseball. It's like, shut up.
Yeah, and that's now. That's before they go and whoever else they're gonna get. And I'm sure Steve Cohen of the Mets, he's like, what? And he's gonna go and buy a bunch of guys too. So
I will say, just from a selfish a standpoint, only my perspective is that living in Denver and the Dodgers coming here fairly often, I am quite excited to be able to watch Shohei play semi regularly.
Yeah, it's gonna hit 500-foot dongs. Like you can go whatever that street is there that is
Blake
on
Street.
Yeah. We'll look out, everyone. Ohtani's coming to town.
Yeah. So, anyways.
Yeah. All right. What else is going on around the league? I've taken up too much time ranting.
Yeah. The Giants have signed Korean outfielder Jung-Hoo Lee for a 6-year, $113 million contract. He is a 25-year-old center fielder, lefty, high on base, low strikeout guy. And the Giants finally get a player. Not Judge, not Ohtani, but this guy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know a lot about him, but he's been very good in the KBO, and from my understanding, I've seen him described as a Brendan Donovan that can play center field, and that's certainly appealing. We already talked about the value of a Brendan Donovan, and if he was a above average center fielder, you can certainly see why that would be valuable. In 6 years, 113,
nice deal.
No 700 million.
Ha-Sung Kim walked so this guy could run. I'm curious to see if more if KBO the guys get a little bit more money going forward. This guy's also a pretty special player, so we'll see. The Royals make a couple of moves. They sign right-hander Seth Lugo to a 3-year, $45 million deal, and they also get Chris Stratton for 2 years, $8 million.
Yeah, I do think this is interesting. First of all, good for Chris Stratton. It's a good deal. He's getting he's getting a bag for being a like a sort of utility left-hander. Like he's now has near generational wealth. Or sorry, righty. So good for him. It's a fine deal. The Lugo one is interesting, because he's a guy that we had in the big pile of options that Lynn and Gibson also sit in. But the fact that he got 345, like, would you have rather them signed Seth Lugo for 345 than Lynn for 110 with an option, or Gibson for 112 with an option?
No, I don't. I was thinking about this earlier. I don't think so. If it would have been Seth Lugo 2 for 30, but that third year, he's
Yeah.
he doesn't have the strikeout stuff. He doesn't have like not enough of a track record. I wouldn't be willing to make that bet, but I think it's a good signing for the Royals.
Sure. Yeah, because the Royals need that sort of thing too. It did make me think like a potential mark in the favor of Mazalek, and we like to give him shit for the being aggressive. We just did that. Like if it turns out that Lynn and Gibson were really the only guys that were like out of the box okay with 1 year deals, and
Yep.
everyone else in this bucket that we've talked about are looking for 2, 3, 4 year deals and might be getting them, like Seth Lugo
Yeah.
is showing, then it does make sense that they rushed out and signed Gibson and Lynn, um, because those are there's no such thing as a bad 1 year deal, right? And
Yeah.
so like I also am happier with Lynn and Gibson on their 1 year deals than Lugo for 3. Like we hope to
Yeah.
not need a Seth Lugo for 3 more years, you know?
Exactly my
Yeah.
thought. And I also think like Lugo is at the stage in his career and development and yada 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 where he was going to just take the most money because he has this one good opportunity, proved himself as a
Yep.
starter, go make the bag. It makes sense,
Yeah.
and good for him. I'm actually surprised the Mets didn't bring him back. They
Yeah.
probably could have used a Seth Lugo next year, but anyways. The Pirates have decided to sign first baseman Rowdy Tellez 1 year, $3.2 million. He stays in the Central,
We
Nate.
can't avoid him.
No, we
It's
can't.
getting rowdy in the NL Central.
Probably a fine deal.
Yeah.
Hopefully, he hits a couple of splash hits in PNC. But yeah,
Yeah.
Pirates they suck.
Yeah.
In other Pirates news, their super prospect catcher Andy Rodriguez underwent surgery to repair his UCL and flexor tendon in his throwing arm. He'll be out all of next year.
Yeah, it's a bummer. I'm like,
Pirates suck.
I want to root for the Pirates, and that just sucks.
Mm-hmm.
So
He'll be special when he comes up.
yeah,
The Reds signed third baseman, utility infielder Jamir. Am I saying that
I thought it
wrong?
was Ymar, but
Ymar?
I don't know.
Jamer? Jamer
Jamer,
Candelario.
it's probably Jamer.
3 years, $45 million, gets the Seth Lugo deal. You and I, we were talking about this maybe in the Bird Scored. Why the Reds feel they need another infielder is beyond me. But they got their guy.
Yeah, I guess it really is almost all upside right now on the Reds, but there's also a chance that like half these dudes don't stick,
Right.
right? So they're like the last team I would have expected to sign an infielder, but this guy does bring, at least to some degree, a sure thing to their infield,
Right.
full of a lot of young guys. So I think it's some insurance to ensure bad sentence that
Wow.
their infield, like if somehow all these guys collapse, they have him, you
Yeah.
know. I'm sure we're getting some veteran presence
Yeah.
narrative there as
Sure.
well, you know.
The Dodgers signed Joe Kelly to a 1 year, $8 million deal.
Yeah.
They also made a trade with the Yankees. They sent Victor Gonzalez and an infield prospect named Jorbit Vivas from the Dodgers to the Yankees. The Yankees send back minor league infielder Trey Sweeney. So interesting deal is really just to make room for Ohtani, though.
Yeah.
So, whatever.
And Joe Kelly. Yeah, actually I was kind of surprised that the Trey Sweeney is a prospect of note. Like he
Yeah.
shows up on lists. So I kind of thought it was just going to be a pure dump. But they actually got somebody of note. So of course the Dodgers add to their, still
Yeah.
stacked farm system.
Why not?
But the best part about the Joe Kelly stuff, besides just it's Joe Kelly, and we love Joe Kelly. Good for him for continuing to be on big teams. Did you see all the stuff where like, so he wore number 17 as a
Yeah.
Dodger, and
Yeah.
that's what Ohtani wears. So
Yeah.
he was joking on like who gets to wear 17, and that was funny.
Yeah. Roki Sasaki, Nippon Professional Baseball League starting pitcher, superstar, has requests to be posted by his team, Chiba Lot Marines. It seems like this request is likely to be denied, but we do not know yet. And
Yeah.
I will just say if this happens, all hell is going to break loose.
I know.
Shoto Imanaga obviously still out there. Yoshi Yamamoto is still out there. And I don't know, this is hyperbolic, but Roki Sasaki and Yoshi Yamamoto are, if one is 1A, the other one is 1B. They are both extremely talented, extremely young. We'll see what happens there.
It's a seismic shift to the entire offseason as far as options that are out there. Now, if you missed on Ohtani, you still have Yamamoto. If you miss on him, you've got Roki Sasaki. Like, it's almost like I don't want it to happen this offseason. I want it to be next year when the Cardinals maybe have more, money. I don't know. It's crazy though. But I'm also excited for him to maybe be in the MLB.
We'll see. And then final point of news, David Rubenstein and a group of rich guys are reportedly in talks to purchase the Baltimore Orioles away from the Angelos family. And I think that while we don't know much about Rubenstein, can't be worse than the Angelos. So it'd be nice to get the Angelos family out of baseball and bring Rubenstein and his group in. But we shall see what happens there.
I hope this set of rich dudes is better than that set of rich dudes.
I don't mean to be morbid, but I did throw in here, he's 74 years old, and I don't know if this is true or if this is just how I feel based on anecdotal evidence, but it seems that the more decrepit set of owners are more interested in winning now because of time frame reasons. I think of Mike Ilitch. I think of Peter Seidler, and I'm not trying to be a monster, but you know what I'm getting at?
I do. I think it's funny that you use the word decrepit as simply a description of being old.
There's probably
you are 74 years old, you are inherently decrepit.
Yeah,
according to Ben.
At least from where I'm sitting, at my I'll leave it there. But anyways, it could be a good thing. We'll see what happens. And that's all I got.
All right. Let's wrap this up, Ben. We're returning to a game. The Cardinal that we've played before. The Cardinals have recently released a set of promotion nights for 2024. You and I have talked memorabilia a little bit recently, and there's a great conversation in the Bird Scored about everybody's Cardinal memorabilia. So it got me thinking about that, and we are returning to a little game I call Theme Night or Dream Night. The way this works is I have a list of theme nights from any level of baseball. So a lot of these are from the minors. And some of them are real and some of them I made up.
All right.
And you have to tell me, is this a theme night or is it a dream night? Understand the rules?
I get it.
Okay. First one.
The Twisted Mind of Nate Heininger.
Math Day.
That is, I think that's a real night. I think I could see the team like if you bring in your report card or something like that, you get a free hot dog or something. I'm going to say that's a real one for the kids.
It was a real one. They actually even set up like a little classroom at the stadium and let a class like be held at the stadium.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah. All right. Number 2. Make your own hot dog night.
Make your own hot dog night. I mean, I guess I could see them putting out the accoutrements for like a hot dog bar, and you could put Cheerios on your hot dog or jelly or all kinds of crazy combinations. But it also seems like something that you would really like that you might just make up because you're a little hot dog eater. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna say this is a Nate creation. I'm gonna say it's a dream night, even though it's plausible.
You got me, Ben. Make your own hot dog night. When I imagined it, I was actually thinking of like the worst version of it, where they're like grinding up the meat together.
Oh, God. No.
The moment you started describing your version of make your own hot dog, I was like, that's actually a pretty good idea. I had a nightmare version.
Yeah, no thanks.
Dream, more like nightmare. Okay. Ben.
Yes.
Top ham day.
Oh God. Top ham day. I could see like a minor league ballpark. Like last time I went to a minor league baseball game, they had like a whole petting zoo and goats and mini horses and stuff like that. I wouldn't be surprised if this is some country shit where you bring your hog to the ballpark. I'm gonna say that's real.
You're on a roll. The Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs hosted Top Ham Day.
Wow.
Okay.
I was right on all accounts there.
Yeah. Asparagus night.
I can't conceive of what that could possibly mean other than you bring I don't it's not like you can eat asparagus raw. You can't like bring yours from home. I guess you could eat it raw.
Real asparagus aficionados actually say you're supposed to eat it raw.
Yeah, like if you shave it and put it in a salad, that's not bad. Aficionados, shut up. I'm going to say that's a real night because I don't think you would make that up.
Man, you're reading me like a book today, man. Yeah. That is true. Asparagus night was a real night. Tell you what.
Sounds dumb.
I don't want to go around the urinals on that night.
Hey, am I right?
Hey, gross.
That is gross.
All right. Milk day.
Milk day. That also sounds very plausible. I'm going to say that that's a theme night.
Finally got you, Ben. Milk day. I made that one up.
What in your mind? What is milk day?
That's exactly what it sounds like.
Okay,
just pouring glasses of milk. Yeah, we're all just having milk.
All right,
it's milk day.
Sure.
All right. Salute to ham bone.
I think you're trying to trick me on this one, Nate. Although I can't believe I've never been cordially invited to salute to ham bone. What is ham bone? I think you're trying to trick me. I'm going to say that is a real theme night.
It is a real theme night. So it is again the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs.
Oh my God.
Apparently they do like the in stadium races or whatever, and one of the characters is Hambone. And this was the salute to Hambone Day.
I expect an email from that team.
Yeah. All right. Big Bushy Beard Day.
Big Bushy Beard Day. Big Bushy Beard Day. Alliteration is fun.
Mm-hmm.
Could see this being you or a team because alliteration is fun. I'm going to say, based on nothing, that this is a Nate creation, a dream night.
Damn it. Yep, you got it. It's a dream night. Big Bushy Beard Day. I think that'd be a great time.
Oh, sure.
You could do it show off their big bushy beards. Coors Field. Give out like Charlie Blackmon.
Oh, yeah. They sell like foam Charlie Blackmon beards. They're fun.
There you go. Big Bushy Beard Day. All right. I got two more for you.
All right.
Conspiracy night.
Oh, God. I hope this is fake. Conspiracies used to be fun. I'm going to say that this is... although there's teams in like the Isotopes, I could see having a conspiracy night and having actual fun with it. I'm going to say it's a theme night. It's a real one.
It is a real night. Conspiracy night. Yep. Yeah, I hope it's like, we faked the moon landing, or like Bigfoot's real and not like
Hillary Clinton eats babies.
Yeah. All right. One last one for you.
All right.
Hot ham and cheese day.
Oh, that's just a good day for the whole family. I hope to God that's real. I'm going to say theme night real.
No, it is but a dream, my dear boy.
Oh, come on, teams. Step up.
Someone's got to have a hot ham and cheese day.
Yeah, it sounds great.
Right? All right. Ben, you got 7 of 10 correct. Pretty good.
Yeah, that's passing grade. I'll take it.
Yep. So that was dream night or theme night. And that'll do it for this week. A lot to talk about. Despite the cold stove, as was discussed last week, we've had a lot to talk about as Cardinal fans, and we're already halfway into December. So The schedule will continue. At some point, we need to discuss our bad movie episode again. We're going to do a bad baseball movie episode again, although it wasn't a bad movie last time. It was one of the greatest movies I've ever seen.
Hit us up on Twitter, or if you're in the Bird Squad, give us suggestions. What movie should we watch? Nate's still never seen Major League. Nate's still never seen...
Well, those are good baseball movies. I want to watch another absurd one, but maybe we'll do a little bit of both. So,
all right.
So if you have ideas on what we should watch, let us know. And we'll be back next week. And until then, Cardinals, go sign Yamamoto and Roki Sasaki.
And Imanaga.
Okay, bye. Bye.
Edie's being so cute on my lap.
Aww.
Little baby girl.
We need to get our cats on the podcast more.
Yeah.
That's what the people want to hear, I think.
Meow, meow, meow. Meow, 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 meow.
Yeah. Cat language. You speak cat.
Meow, meow, meow.